A lot is going on in the world on this day, May 5th, 2026, and we'll be talking about that here on World Edition, here on Pod TV, and seeing what folks' reactions are to a number of the stories that are U.S. bases as Israel strikes Hezbollah linked targets in Lebanon. So that's something that's going on in the world stage and all along those lines. And definitely, folks are still talking about how the bombing of Tehran intensifies as war enters day six. An Iranian warship was sunk by the U.S. was sailing home after taking part in an exhibition hosted by India. So that's something that folks are talking about as well. And study finds sea levels are higher than we thought, placing millions more at risk. Sea levels much higher than assumed in mostly coastal hazard assessments. Sea levels much higher than previously thought due to methodological blind spots, is what the study is finding. So there was some methodology that was not totally accurate and all along those lines. And to some, legally problematic strike on Israel on Iran clears a higher bar morality. So that's what the Times of Israel is reporting. And explosions in Tehran as the U.S. and Israeli forces continue their attacks. So definitely a lot's going on in the Mid East, just like there's a lot going on in Latin America and in Europe as well. Iranian drones strike Azerbaijan's Nakhchivan International Airport. So, U.S. and Israel are continuing those attacks as this crisis is apparently spilling beyond the Middle East. And Azerbaijan troops are at highest level of readiness as Iran denies it is behind those drone attacks. And Canada Prime Minister Mark Carney is in the news. Apparently, he's working some sort of Iranian tightrope. Carney says that Canada's support for Iran airstrikes came with regret, and that was reported in the New York Times. Carney won't rule out military action if Mideast conflict widens. So, Canadian Prime Minister Carney says U.S. and Israeli strikes on Iran mark failure of the international order. So definitely looks like he's going to be at odds continuously with President Trump and everything like that. And Trump calls on the Kurds to aid U.S. efforts in Iran, offers them support. So Kurds backed by Mossad and CIA could lead to the next phase of war in Iran. Iranian Kurdish forces say they may enter Iran, and some folks are asking who are the Kurds. So definitely that's something that people are talking about as well. Carney says Canada and Australia can set the agenda as world faces crisis. Global order is breaking down, is what Carney tells the Australian Parliament. So Australia and Canada signed a new deals on critical minerals. So that's definitely something that people are talking about as well. And the Department of State charter flights departs the Middle East to the United States. Trump administration under fire as thousands of Americans are stranded in a war zone. So Americans trying to evacuate Middle East are frustrated with their government response. Charter flight said to return stranded Americans as travelers scramble amid Iran war. So definitely that's something that folks are paying attention to as well. And IDF airs video showing world's first F-35 downing of manned plane in Iran. So Israel F-35 downs Iranian fighter jet in first war dogfight. So Israeli Air Force F-35 shoots down a Russian-made Iranian jet over Tehran. So definitely a lot's going on in that space. And some folks are asking why China won't help Iran. The U.S. just took out two China-friendly leaders in 2 months, and why has Beijing done very little about it is what CNN is asking, as well as other reporters as well. Trump's China summit with Xi Jinping just got a lot more complicated, and we'll see how this all plays out as well. Donald Trump is begs war-torn country for help on Iran. So Pentagon eyes Ukrainian interceptor drones to counter Iran. So U.S. and Mid-East countries seek Kyiv's drone expertise as Russia-Ukraine talks put on ice. So Ukraine sending experts to the Middle East to help counter Iranian drones. So it definitely looks like they might be sending some of their forces over to that war to help as well. And Iran war threatens 11.7 trillion global travel industries as passengers get caught in the crossfire. And repatriation of flights ramp up as nations race to bring citizens home from the Middle East. And that's not just the U.S. Citizens, but citizens from around the world. And hardline cleric Arafat joins wartime leadership as Iran juggles conflict and succession. So Iran's power vacuum and Democrats dominate in flipping state seats. So that's something on the national news and everything like that. So Iran is posed to name a new supreme leader with the U.S. watching very closely. So we'll see who they pick and how that impacts the war efforts and all along those lines. And fight over Trump's Iran war powers comes after a long stretch of Congress yielding power and all along those lines. So Trump administration waging illegal war on Iran is what some experts are saying, according to the Guardian publication. And NATO shoots down Iranian missile approaching Turkish airspace, is what Turkey says. So NATO air defenses shoot down an Iranian missile heading toward Turkey, and definitely looks like the U.S. submarine sank an Iranian warship, Hedges says, as it happened. So it looks like a lot of people are being targeted, and it's definitely some great conflicts going on in this particular war and all along that lines. U.S. crude oil touches highest level since June of 2025 after Iran says it attacked a tanker. So Malta flagged container ship hit by projectile in Hormuz, vessel abandoned, sources say. So 2 Indians were killed in Iran attack on oil tankers Skylight in the Strait of Hormuz. So it looks like this war could be impacting your costs at the gas pumps as well. And a big burden for farmers, the Gulf shipping crisis threatens a food price shock. So Trump's war on Iran could definitely hurt the U.S. farmers, and fertilizer distribution from Iran conflict prompts a global food shortage warning. So it does look like people are concerned that we might be having issues with our food as well. So definitely there's a lot going on in that space and in that regard. So we'll see what folks have to say about a number of these stories as they are taking place and all along those lines. But a lot's going on in the world in terms of what's taking place in the sense of military actions and all in that way. Pentagon names the 5th soldier killed by Iran drone strike. 6 is believed to be ID'd. A mom days from going home and a dad who made you feel important. 6 U.S. troops killed in war with Iran identified. So these American servicemen died in the Iranian conflict. So it does look like some of them have been identified in that way. So, and 3 women are found dead in rural Utah as a manhunt sparked school closures and business shutdowns. So 3 women were found dead in Utah, and that's definitely something that is being talked about in the news as well. And nervous GOP waits for Trump's Texas pick. So Texas might be the key to saving Trump's second term agenda. Trump is expected to endorse Cornyn in a brutal Texas Senate runoff. So definitely interesting to see how this plays out as GOP anxieties rise in Texas after the Tellerico victory. And RFK Jr. is trying to revamp medical schools. RFK Jr. is pushing medical schools to teach more about nutrition. So the Washington Post is asking, can RFK Jr. reshape how doctors learn about food? Med schools are pledging changes. So we'll see how this all plays out as well. And Judge Richard Eden orders U.S. Customs to pay tariff refunds. So judge orders government to begin refunding more than $130 billion in tariffs, and he's ordered U.S. Customs to process refunds on illegal Trump tariffs. So Wall Street is betting on tariff refunds after that Supreme Court ruling. American consumers are the ultimate losers in the immense mess that is the $175 billion tariff situation, and all in that way. Pakistani man says Iran forced him into a plot to kill Trump, media says. Man accused of plotting Trump assassination claims Iran forced him to, and a trial seeks to tie Iranian paramilitary to alleged assassination plot in the U.S. Got $5,000 in cash, family under threat. Pakistan man accused of plotting to kill Trump and Biden points to Iran. And Rhode Island Attorney General released his report on clergy abuse. So definitely there's an investigation going on that as well. Report on child sexual abuse in the Diocese of Providence. So Rhode Island's Attorney General released his report detailing decades of clergy sexual abuse in the Providence Diocese. So definitely that's something that will be talked about as well. So lots going on in the world and around the world and everything like that. So there's been a number of these stories that have been in the news, but I'm gonna bring in some of my folks, see what they've got to say about what's going on, including Rick Rosner and including Jacoby McDuffie. And I think I saw Vader in the house. Might have even seen Sasha Starr. How are you doing, Rick?
Okay.
So what's on your news story minds?
I guess that so far, like 3 days, 4 days into the war, it hasn't led to a decline in Trump's polling. That, according to a Fox News poll, Trump still has the approval of 98% of MAGA Republicans. That's not all Republicans, that's just the MAGAs. So, and in general, so his overall approval, I think, according to the same poll, is 57 disapproval, 43% approval, which is not a huge, it's not a drop. So I'm poking at some other surveys, but I think you'd expect that, the war is not popular, and you'd expect it would affect Trump's approval, but it hasn't yet.
Not as of yet, it hasn't, and everything. Hey, Sasha, I did see that Ukraine has become experts in drone warfare, and it looks like they are bringing some of that expertise to Israel and the Middle East conflict. Will that put a drain on their efforts to push back and continue their war against Russia? So how will that play out?
No, no. I think Zelensky very clearly said that it will not be at the cost of Ukrainian security and its fight against Russia. So that will be a well-measured action. But I would like to put my remarks on Trump popularity and the war popularity. It's not the same thing. While majority of people in the United States disapprove this war, the popularity of Trump with the MAGA crowd is completely different things. They may not disapprove the war, but they will approve Trump until the very last moment that they can breathe. Why? Because they all depend on their jobs, their life security on one man, Trump. Without Trump, they are nobodies. They're just a bunch of idiots. Trump that makes them the great old party, and he run around the world, and he's threatening everybody, and he puts tariffs, and he puts that. So all his popularity and war unpopularity, they're completely different things.
So I have a fun story / rumor. So Kristi Noem has been in front of the House and the Senate the past couple days, being forced to answer questions about just being, she's terrible. That she flies around on a $70 million sex jet with her boyfriend. She gave $143 million no bid contract to run ads starring her. Just a bunch of, but the story is, so it's well known now that she fired one of her pilots mid-flight because he left behind a blanket, her favorite blanket, in a different plane. And then they had to hire him back because they had no other pilots. But according to stories in British newspapers, it wasn't really a blanket. It was a bag of dildos that they left behind, a bag of sex toys on the plane. And Lewandowski, her boyfriend, wanted him to turn around after they were already 10,000 feet in the air to go pick up the bag, probably because it's embarrassing. But the pilot said he couldn't, and at that point the pilot got fired, but couldn't really be fired because he was flying the plane. But anyway, that's a fun kind of rumor. The story.
Did you see the photos of the plane? Did you see them?
Yeah. I mean, it's got a queen size. It's got a bedroom,
a queen size bed on the plane.
Yeah,
it's all dolled up as a bedroom, and she, the 220 million for the what I call the GI Joe Barbie ads, And then there was another investigation over $143 million.
Well, yeah, that's the same deal. They spent 220 million on these ads, and 143 million went to one of her buddies to produce the ads. I guess the
Called
rest
Save
of it,
America, which has no building, it has no facility, it doesn't even have a website.
that is the
And
headquarters, the agency that put the company that put together these ads, right, has no headquarters.
No,
It doesn't have a website. It's just like a dude who knows a dude, right?
her friend who went and did in a corporation called Save America, like 8 days. But here's the problem: all of those jobs in a government position in the federal government are required to be bidded out. There's a bidding system. It used to be called SAMS. I used to bid through it. I used to go to classes in DC to bid on them. And meetings, they would hold meetings about each bid. It used to frustrate me because, the military would need 4 bolts and they would have to bid it out. But she never bid out the position yet. She's telling Congress, I was watching some of the hearings. Yeah, everything was done on board, is what she said. Everything's legal. Are you telling me it's not legal? You're saying this wasn't legal? Well, Trump approved it. Well, now she threw Trump under the bus.
A couple problems are: one is she's not smart. She's not a smart lady.
No, she's not.
And 2, she's got 0 experience. She was governor of South Dakota. I think she was in the House of Representatives for 1 term, but she has 0 experience in doing the job she's doing.
She had no experience there and everything. I got a question for y'all about PACs and everything like that, because there was a PAC that has a lot of influence and it has poured tons of money into races, but now folks are wondering if it might hurt candidates, because this PAC that I'm getting ready to mention is a Jewish PAC, AIPAC, and everything like that, and they are apparently putting a lot of money, $13.7 million, into the Chicago area primaries, and some people are saying that could turn toxic, and it might have almost caused Boucher, her race here in North Carolina. It was much closer than people thought.
It is toxic, and it pains me because I'm Jewish and I hate Israel. Israel got brutally attacked on October 6th, 2.5 years ago. Hamas came in, slaughtered 1,100 Israelis, took 200 hostages, most of whom ended up dead. And then Israel turned around and has been waging war against Hamas in Gaza, and also some aggressive actions on the West Bank, and 70,000 Palestinians are dead. And this leads to a lot of legitimate anger at Israel's lobbying arm, AIPAC. Yeah. And it pains. I mean, I hate it leads to cognitive dissonance for me, where I'm happy to see people say fuck Trump on Twitter, but then in the same tweet they're saying fuck the Jews, and it's like it's a messy situation.
Very messy situation. Like I said, Nita
Allen. I agree with you. This has nothing to do with the Trump made some poor decisions, but it shouldn't be reflected on the Jewish people. I don't think the Jewish people want to see a lot, all of this war. I thought we were going to end it, and all we're doing is starting more wars. And there's no direction. When I hear that they plan this carefully, I can't help but think, how can you have planned a war carefully when you left a lot of Americans over in the area that you're blowing up? And I mean, were they careful not to blow up where the Americans were?
Right now, it seems like, if I'm correct, and correct me if I'm wrong, Rick, it seems like we're involved in 3 wars right now. We still are involved to some degree in Venezuela, which is the first one. We're involved in the Middle East, and then yesterday we got involved in Ecuador. So that's 3 that I'm aware of, and everything.
Well, one of them is for sure a war. Iran is a war. Yeah. Venezuela, I don't know what the hell it is. I don't know how many troops we have. I don't know what we're doing exactly. And Ecuador, I'm not briefed on what's going on over there. But the whole AIPAC thing and the Israel thing just got worse because a lot of people in the U.S., whether legitimately or not, think that we entered the war against Iran at the behest of Israel.
Well, just to point out, it's a lot more complex. One, that's like the icing on the cake for a lot of individuals, including MAGA. MAGA is still starting to fracture, even based on what you've pointed out earlier with the poll numbers based on them. However, MAGA will never leave Trump. They will, like Sasha said, they're never going to leave Trump regardless. He's always going to be their choice, whatever he does. However, there's a big fracture now, hence the reason you have different parts of the MAGA base starting to say that Trump has betrayed us, so on and so forth. So they'll vote for Trump, but they may not show up to the polls. But in terms of the Jewish people and AIPAC and so on, and that when October 7th happened, and then from that point on, a lot of people started shifting over to everybody was in support of the Jewish people, of the people of Israel. But then what happened was Netanyahu started doing what he was doing, and that started harming a lot of the people over Palestinian people, and nobody would ever discuss or talk about. So everybody began to think that see that the Palestinian people were under some oppression by Netanyahu, which began to fracture the base in the U.S. that had 70, 80% were behind Israel. But as Netanyahu did his thing over the past couple of years, just as you pointed out, Rick, that began to harm the support for Israel. And it's not that they're not supporting the Jewish people. Yes, anti-Semitism is out there. We have to recognize that. But the problem is that people support the Jewish people, but just like the people of Israel, they want Netanyahu out of there because Netanyahu is doing some bad things. And then you throw in Trump, and Trump has done a whole bunch of bad. I mean, and we cannot ignore the fact when he goes out and yells, "I'm the greatest president for Israel," yet he's bringing in highly anti-Semitic people and white supremacists into his actual government. So that became all a problem. And it's extremely complex, but that's what caused those poll numbers to drop, the support to drop.
I want to mention a couple other things, and Sasha will mention that, given the chance, is that the 3% of the Gazans killed in this Israelis' war against Hamas is not unusual in a war where the fighters are embedded in the general population. Mm-hmm. So that's thing one. Thing two is the conflict. There's a certain segment of evangelical lunatics who are happy to see the Middle East on fire because they think that means that it's the beginning of the end times, as discussed in the book of Revelation, one of the last books of the Bible. And they want to see that happen. The final confrontation between good and evil, between Jesus and Satan, will play out as the world goes up in flames.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the things.
That's a good analogy, Rick.
A few months ago, almost a year ago now, Trump has arranged for a peace between Israel and Hamas. And part of his peace plan was that Hamas would lay down their weapons. And then the other Arab countries will jointly govern this territory, and it will be a peace. There will be some new businesses erected, hotels, maybe something else. But first, you start with laying down the weapons. Because without that, all your plans to build the beautiful hotels and the casinos and all that stuff is not going to happen, period, in 1,000 years. So you have to start with laying down the weapons. That has not been happened even by now. So that's why the situation there is very uncertain. The people are still dying, maybe in a lesser quantities, but still, and there's no remedy to it. So it's either Israel will disarm the Hamas at some point, maybe not. We don't know that.
Sasha,
Right.
just out of
Well,
curiosity, I don't know any war where any of the opponents have totally been willing to lay down their weapons and everything like that. I'm thinking about like
Germany in
Ireland.
1945, to answer your question.
Okay.
Germany in 1945. Japan in 1945. It was unconditional surrender. That's what
However,
happened in 1945.
but we still had to enforce the peace. The Allies left a
Right.
million troops in Germany for years. They left 400,000 troops in Japan for 7 years until
Right.
1952 to enforce the peace.
And
Okay.
now it's a
and
completely
Japan
different.
has honored. Japan
Well,
has really kept to that. They just do their own thing, and if everyone had would just do like Japan now, we would all be peaceful. But even
well,
during COVID, they
Yes.
didn't
we
strike
live
people; they just keep to themselves.
Well,
we
Germany's
live in a different time.
Right.
And I know we like to reference from World War One, World War Two, Vietnam Wars, and all this other stuff. But we live in a different time now. And what Sasha's saying, yeah, I mean, laying down their arms. But what Mark points out is there's no army in recent times that's ever going to really do that.
So,
The problem is that we haven't had a true negotiation because we've always tried to threaten people or do the negotiation by putting somebody under the gun themselves. Therefore, you're not going to get actually a balanced negotiation because nobody's trusted in that. Hence the reason why Qatar was actually was the negotiators. But as Sasha just pointed out, people are still being killed. Palestinian shift is really hitting is because you still see Palestinian people in famine. You still hear Trump and his group talking about genocide and also ethnic cleansing. And so a lot of people shifted away from the support of Israel due to not only Netanyahu saying that the actual peace deal wasn't really a true peace deal, also that Trump and his whole administration was putting up ethnic cleansing and genocidal posts, and also allowing other different individuals, anti-Semitic people, to have prominent voices from Nick Fuentes on. So we have a problem in this country with that support, and that support will only be built back up when, honestly, once Trump leaves and we have an opportunity to heal, that'll help. But also Netanyahu has to go, and allowing for the Israeli people to really have a say, and also a peace with the Palestinian people, allowing them self-determination, but that's not happening. And until that happens, we're still going to start to lose more and more support for Israel.
Yeah,
I'm
that
going
makes sense.
to point out.
I have
I'm
gas prices. So
Yeah.
a year ago, gas was $3.11. A month ago, it was $2.89. Today, it's $3.25.
Yeah,
So-
I just pumped. So,
And
yeah.
climate and everything. Hey, Kim, I have a question to you because I know you're very much about government efficiency and all along those lines and that space. But I'm trying to figure out, because apparently there's $130 billion in tariffs that are supposed to be refunded, but the U.S. Customs is going to process the refund. So I'm trying to figure out how the U.S. Customs is the one that's going to be the ones enforcing this. This seems like this should
I
be
don't know.
another-
Maybe they need to go to Britney Spears, G.I. Joe, Barbie, Christy Nome. I don't know. You've got all of our money already spent, and in fact, they were going to give us the money, right? The United States, but the money's going to have to come from somewhere. So guess what? You're going to be taxed more to cover that. The rich will not. This will not impact the rich and shameless. So I think that we're going to have to do that. But in the fact of the war, I want to kind of backtrack to something that you guys were talking about and people putting down their arms. I just want to say, in defense of Ukraine, they put down their arms. And because of it, They have been brutally attacked. Everyone knew that they would be weaker because they honored the agreement. They honored the pact of no weapons, let's have peace. I don't think anyone should, with Trump in office, put down their arms. I really don't. I know that I'll get in trouble for saying this, but it's the honest truth. Trump could have easily have defended Ukraine like we had promised them we would. Biden should have. But we made a promise to Ukraine that if they destroyed all of their weapons, nothing would ever happen. That's just a Trojan horse. That's just a Trojan horse of, okay, you put down your weapons and now we're going to attack you. Or we're going to wait a few years, but then it's going to happen and it's not my fault. And that's wrong. And, and we've got a situation now that's even worse. And you know what? I don't care that you hit the supreme leader. He was 80 some years old, and no offense to the elderly, but he was just a decoy. All of their supreme leaders are just decoys. They can be replaced 1,000 times over. There's 1,000 men in line for that position. They're just decoys for you to go after them instead of going after the president. Yay, cheer, cheer. We got the supreme leader. Yeah, well, it's just like hitting the Pope. No offense to the Pope. You can replace a Pope. It's not that big of a deal. It really isn't. It's not.
I mean,
not really. The children now, 150 children dead. That's a big deal. And that will carry in their hearts forever. And they will make the Americans pay for that forever. And I'm going to say I don't blame them. I'm not going to support it, but I don't blame them.
Well, three quick things. In terms of the customs and border processing the taxes, Mark, that's a cheap, easy ploy to find out, quote unquote, who's a citizen and who's not. That's getting personal data to the actual federal government in a different way that is not protected. So therefore, there's another play for that. Same thing with the war that's going to end up popping up because we're going to have a national emergency where Trump is going to declare some state of emergency and pause the elections. He's already stated that. That's actually been one of their options that they were going to do in the first place. But Kim, you're right. More bombs creates more people that hate you. More bombs in an area with terrorists creates more terrorists in the area. And yes, Iran has multiple layers. Sasha has expressed this to the nth degree on this show multiple times. They have multiple layers. You take out the Ayatollah, you got others that'll replace them. You take out those, you got others that'll replace them. You're in a country of millions. The analogy that you can look at, and this is why the shift in Gaza has turned against Israel, is the fact that you say you're going after Hamas, but the more you bomb, kill, and maim people, the more you're creating more people that want to join Hamas. And that's in Gaza, because the Palestinian people are just innocent. They've never lived. 50% of them never had an opportunity to vote because Hamas took that opportunity away in 2006. So therefore, 50% of the people have never voted. 50% are below the age of voting. So therefore, or below the age of the last vote. So therefore, they never had an opportunity, couldn't do it before. But if you don't give them that self-determination possibility, they're never going to change anything. Right now, Trump is talking about arming the Kurdish people to create an uprising in Iran. So now the Kurdish soldiers have worked with the U.S. before. However, now you're choosing a tribe that isn't the largest tribe in Iran. So now you're actually creating a civil war amongst all the various factions in Iran. Now you're going to have an even more stabilized. Going on is
so civil war in Iraq. After we took down Iraq, civil war killed 1 million people.
Yeah.
Sorry, Sasha had his hand up. I interrupted.
Yeah, go ahead.
The Kurdish population of Iran is only 10%. They don't have any power. They don't have any credibility in Iran among most of the Iranian populations. Most likely scenario that they will take arms supplied by Americans, and will continue to do whatever they do every day. They are not going to fight for power in Iran because it's impossible. Absolutely. Now, the major question now, what are the objectives of war for both America and Iran? So America is fighting for, as I understand, the change of power in Iran, the change of government of Iran. What else? They're trying to destroy as many missiles and probably drones as they can. And that's their goals. I don't know what else. Am I missing something? Now, the goals of Iran are very simple. It reminds me what Ukraine did change in its strategy against Russia about a year ago. So they would always talk about returning the territory, whether it's a territory by 1991 or it's a territory by before invasion of 2022. Until about a year ago, they forgot about the territory. Territory is not important. But killing 1,500 Russians a day, that's important. And that became their strategy. Every day to kill 1,500 people or more. So that's a strategy. Iran, their strategy is to inflict as much damage to American bases, American infrastructure, the Gulf's governmental structure, hotels, airport, just any assets associated with United States. And it may go much further. It may go to Europe to attack American embassies in Europe, which will affect travel. And all that affects prices of oil. All that affects business opportunities all around the world. So that's Iran's goal, to hit America where it hurts. Gas at the pumps, the killing as many people as they can, and attacking American bases and all the infrastructure in the Gulf states and so on and on. Now, who is going to win this war? It's becoming a war of attrition. So America will continue its bombing of Iran, killing more people. That's undeniable. Now, is U.S. capable to defend its own military bases in Gulf, its assets there, the friendly Arab governments, hotels, infrastructure, so on? Remains to be seen. I'm not sure if America has that capabilities. Now, another very important thing is, there are a lot of Americans got stranded in that region, including Israel. There are no evacuation plans whatsoever. So what America is telling, okay, you just try to find your own way. There are no evacuation plans at all. So this is showing unpreparedness of the United States for this type of war. I don't understand how long it will last. Stock market is very nervous about this war, and it may continue to go down, although yesterday was a pretty good day, but we don't know how much it will last. So this is why I think Trump may become a big loser of that war, regardless of outcome. I agree that eventually the United States will take over. It's impossible if you compare the might of the United States against Iranian forces. It's a no-brainer, but at what cost?
And to add on to that real quick, the war is now expanded into Turkey. And Sasha, when you talked about the financial piece, that is the biggest question. What happens after it's over? Because we went in, it was just us and Israel. If other countries decide to help out, what's going to be their compensation? What are we going to pay them afterwards? Because there was no deal to start, but now there's going to have to be a deal afterwards. So now, how much compensation? How much are they going to be compensated? How much is Israel going to be compensated? We've already spent over $2 billion? A couple of billions in terms of the war itself. So What happens afterwards? Then you're looking at nation building, because that has to happen. We're not just going to leave the Kurds out there. As Sasha points out, it's only 10% of the population. So what are you going to do? You got to be able to support them. So now we're in nation building. How much is that going to cost?
Well, I think that this panel really misses the boat altogether. First of all, number one, it's not a war against Iran. It's a war against the Iranian current regime. As we well noted
already, Nick. They are
as we well. Do I get a chance to speak? I was hoping.
Yes.
Okay.
Go
So number one, it's not a war against Iran. It's a war against the current Iran regime. Remember, 20 or 30,000 Iranians were killed by this regime due to protesters. This panel gets very upset when one protester gets killed in Minneapolis. Imagine 20 or 30,000 protesters got killed. So we know there's a huge group, not just the 8% of Kurds, but a huge group of Iranians who are well educated who do not want this regime. So this is a war on regime change that you guys missed. Number two, the U.S. has the world's largest military and the best military in the world. They've already shown this by taking out almost all the Navy of Iran, almost all the ballistic missiles. And at the end of the day, there will be no military. Number three, the thinking that these people are going to continue to attack. That would be like saying when in World War I, World War II, the Japanese people would be like bringing on more Japanese people to take over, or the Confederacy. Remember them? They would continually take over. No, when you degrade and degenerate the leadership and continue to do that, eventually there's total capitulation, which will be the objective of America. And that's what's going to happen in Iran. And you're going to see two words take place: regime change. Now you can go and say what you want.
So I'll say what I want here now. Let me explain something to you real quick. One, the leadership of Iran, we already know that. But to say that, this isn't a war against Iran. No, they run Iran. We're in war against Iran. So your comment there is pretty much ridiculous. Then what you're talking about in terms of we got to keep hitting them until. How do you know it's over? You don't. So what you're doing is basically bombing and killing innocent lives at some point, which is happening already, which you've already bombed a whole school full of kids. So you're now just killing innocent individuals, trying to hunt down the individuals that you want. But you brought up no negotiations, no way to actually give into some surrender or any type of diplomacy. So your whole argument is, we're only going after these people. Well, then explain to me how these individuals died, the innocent individuals died that aren't even a part of that. You can't. So we're in a crisis. We're in a war right now with another country.
Correction. There were negotiations. Here is a chronology of what happened a few days before invasion. Nick, you know what I'm going to talk about. That's why you are laughing. So by Monday preceding the invasion, a few days before, there was a note from Israel that on Saturday there will be a big meetings of the top people in Iran, including Ayatollah and his closest advisors, and so on. And they know time about this meeting and where this meeting is taking place. And that would be wise to use this opportunity and actually attack and kill all these people. Now, US got excited about it, or Trump, it doesn't matter. So they said, of course, it's a great idea, and we will support you, and we will attack as well. In the meantime, they had Witkoff and Kushner negotiating with Iran a peace agreement with the participation of one of the ministers from Oman. So the deal was reached, which they had some technical problems that they wanted to fix by Monday. And that's where they adjourned their meeting on Friday. And voila, on Saturday, here is the attack, killing Ayatollah, 40 advisors, and so on. So was there diplomacy? Yes. Was it real diplomacy to stop the war? No. It was Chapiteau performance. It was a typical lying of America, as it always does, all the time, every time. So that was just another bogus diplomacy. Okay.
Nick and Sasha and even Jacoby, I think y'all are somewhat dismissing something that's going on, and that's why I'm concerned that the war may go longer than they are expecting and everything like that. Because yes, the Kurdish people are only 10% of the Iranian population, but as many of us know, if you study war or you study history, and yes, I do study that to some degree, Sasha, the guerrilla warfare is very much something that can make a war last a lot longer than is expected. And it's my understanding that the Kurdish people are masters at guerrilla warfare and everything like that. So that's where I'm afraid that the war may actually last longer than people are expecting, just like happened in Vietnam, just like it happened in some of the African nations and everything like that. So I'm afraid that it might last longer than we're thinking, even though they're only 10% of the population.
Well,
I'm not afraid of that at all.
Will avoid putting troops or their foot on the ground. I'd like to see how they can achieve anything at all whatsoever without putting their boots on the ground. And once they do that, that's the end of Trump.
No, we
And Mark, what you stated, Mark, what you stated, Mark, is very true. Guerrilla warfare is an issue, but the thing is, yes, it'll make it last longer. But we cannot ignore the fact that there are others there that do. I mean, they're practicing guerrilla warfare tactics currently. So the thing is, we have no solution. We have no. Sasha pointed out earlier when he was saying why we went to war. But that's what they've said. But they've also said we went to war because there was a guy that wanted to kill President Trump, and we found out that it's tied to Iran, so we got to get vengeance on that. No, we don't. We're going to war for vengeance. That's ridiculous. That's the same thing Bush said because he was going after what happened to his family. So it's just we have no actual solution. We have no clear-cut reasons of why we're there. We have no answers as to what we're going to do afterwards. With the Kurdish people, they get armed. But what happens when their arms get taken because there's another faction that comes in and takes their arms? So now we got a civil war happening, just like in Iraq, which Rick pointed out, 1 million people died. So now we're going to say this is all worth the deaths of 1 million. This is horrible what we're doing. And
easy target. They've said this over and over, Jacoby, is an easy target because they struck them before. They struck Iran, and Iran didn't really do anything about it. But we've struck them before. They didn't do anything. This was Trump's last term that he had. So I think it was an easy target to try to be like, we're winning. But here's the thing. You have just embedded revenge in these people's hearts. And that will become their legacy, is to pay back for every person that was, and maybe not every person that was killed, but I'm going to tell you right now, those 150 little girls, that's going to be what they feed on for, 20 years from now. People are going to still carry that in their heart because that was just downright evil and wrong. Because we have a general that said we hit every target we went for. We have a general who said that. So they intended it at the school. They intended it.
Well, even worse was Pete Hegseth doing his rah, we're winning the war. Y'all are just, those deaths don't mean anything because you're making Trump look bad. That's why you do. That's where we are.
I'm telling you, it was an easy target for them to win something. That's all it was. They needed something to build their egos up. Political egos needed building because they couldn't kill enough people in the United States to make us bow down to them. They're going to make somebody bow down to Trump. That's what they're working on.
Let's check in with the betting markets. The odds that the regime falls by the end of the month, according to bettors, are down to 14%. Only one bettor in 7 thinks the regime will fall this month. By June 30th, 39% think the regime will fall. So 2 out of 5. Will the regime survive? 62% think it'll survive. And here's a fun story. People won $6.4 million betting on the death of Khomeini. All those bets are void. You're not allowed to make bets in this market that hinge on the death of somebody.
Right.
So those people are getting refunded.
And,
But
you
think
know,
of how
this-
twisted that is. They're betting on the death of somebody.
Yeah.
That is a sad. That is a sad, I guess, description, or that tells you how sad our society is right now.
But that's been going on for a while, Jacoby. I saw an episode, and I know it was a fictional episode. It was one of those law shows where there was literally casinos where people were betting on the deaths of celebrities and the deaths of world leaders and everything like that. So that is a sad commentary that
We
doing
have a
that. There are people that do it.
superhero. We have a superhero named after Deadpool. His name comes from betting on who's going to die.
Rick, I have one question to you.
Exactly.
These people are betting on collapse of Iranian regime. So at some point, there will be a situation where the one side will win and another side will lose. What is the situation? What's the requirement to figure out that, okay, it's done, regime has changed. This side wins, this side loses. Or regime doesn't change, this side wins, this side loses. What
I don't know. I haven't looked at the small
constitutes the
print.
change of regime? What exactly, how you understand the change of regime? What is that?
I don't.
And-
So, wait, here's the rules. It says the market will resolve to yes if the Islamic Republic of Iran's current ruling regime is overthrown, collapses, or otherwise ceases to govern by December 31st this year. Otherwise, so
The
it has to make a call.
And it
Okay.
could be an even worse regime change. I mean, just really quickly, I mean, we went from the Shah, who had a bad reputation, to the Iranian clerics, who would have a bad reputation. Some would say a worse reputation. So are we not? There's the danger that we could get a worse regime.
So to answer Sasha's question, I assume when you put money into these bets, you agree to abide by the judgment of the company. That's
exactly what it is.
so
So-
you're
So this company may say, okay, regime has been changed. Well, what do we need for change regime? If Ayatollah has been killed, supreme ruler, 40 closest advisors were killed as well. So that's not enough to consider a regime change. And what is?
I don't know.
Well, I
I'm
mean,
not-
it's kind of like Venezuela, Sasha, because we commandeered and captured Maduro and everything like that, and then his second in command is who was running the country. So if we really changed, and there was other leaders that were killed in that situation, and it's my understanding that the Ayatollah's son, I believe it is next in line. So if that's the case, if we really change the regime, if there's still people that are in that line that are still in that same philosophy, whatever his philosophy is.
The more Ayatollahs and the advisors or whoever you keep killing, the more Iranian people will consolidate around their power, whatever is left of it or something. So that's why all these attempts to send Kurds and other remedies, they are fruitless, they are absolutely well, to say it mildly, they're undesirable because they will not yield any positive result. America now is at war. America has to either put its foot on the ground or use nuclear option and just annihilate Iran.
Sasha, does America have the stomach for that? Because we're having people that are crying over the death of 6 Americans, and you can only imagine what it'll be like. It'll be like Vietnam if there are mass casualties and everything like that. So I hear what you're saying, but I don't know that America has the stomach for that and everything like that.
Then forget about Iran, get out of it. You will never, ever control such a large country of 92 million people with just airplane coming and bombing. So they will, same with Ukrainians. Okay, Russian continues to bomb Ukrainian cities. They're all hiding, very respecting the discipline. They're all hiding in their shelters, and one, maybe two people are being killed. It's lost its effectiveness.
So
that-
won't, at some point, in your opinion, won't Trump just declare victory saying we sank their Navy, we made them deplete their missiles, we're done. We've set their nuclear program back, we've set their army back years and years, now we're pulling out.
They have to do it ASAP. They have to do it in an hour and a half, right away, right now. That's the only way out.
Well, and there's not going to be a victory over this war because you're not going to kill everyone there. And I don't want to. I don't like to see people killed. But you're going to have the revenge in the hearts of these people, and that's going to last a lifetime. And so you can say you ended the war. Trump can do anything he wants. He can say he ended the war. But those people will attack every American they can. They will kill every American they can. They are walking, ticking time bomb. Remember that. They don't care whether they live or die when they are coming after us. That's how this has been forever. Their value of what goes on in their life is different. But now they have a purpose to kill us. We've given them a reason. We became the terrorists. They posed no threat to the Americans on the day we attacked them. Posed no threat. And, Rubio going, well, they were going to. No, they weren't. There was no proof just like there was no proof that there were weapons and cocaine on the boats that they blew up. All of that was a beta test on America to see how much we allow them and how much we tolerate with their lies of going, well, we think, we know, and it's all a lie. All of this right here is just a military exercise. What we're doing to Iran is just an exercise. They're just trying to see how far they can take things. And they can prove with MAGA, they can take things very far. But MAGA has put us into a position where America will always be a target. And we're being banned from coming to other countries because now we become a target from very vicious people. I'm just saying it's not a good story. Even if you end the war, it's not a good story.
Yeah, you know how many Americans are being stranded in the Gulf states, in Israel?
20,000.
And we are talking about thousands of people. The flights are being canceled. The cruise ships are no longer traveling in these destinations and so on. So the economic outcome is clearly against the United States. And more people around the world don't want to deal with the United States anymore. Canada is now at the head of 40 countries around the world, including 27 countries of European Union, Australia, Japan, where he is now our Prime Minister continue his trip. He's signing multi-billion dollars contracts, and they're all being settled in Canadian dollars, not US dollars. So US is out of the trades. US is out of the monetary transactions. So American dollar, as a result, could go lower. And that's what's happening right now. If you look at gold, if you look at Bitcoin, actually yesterday had a spectacular day, silver and alternative investments, they're doing so much better than traditional US investments.
Iran
and the World Edition is out of time.
Iran is in the World Cup in June. So the World Cup may lose one of its teams because I can't see Trump letting them in.
Right. And we're unfortunately out of time, as well as our dollar is out of value. So everyone take care. We'll see you tomorrow on World Edition at 11 a.m. on podtv.tv. Until then, stay healthy so you can stay wealthy and keep your head low, people. Bombs will be going off.